Hi everyone, today in this video we're going to take a look at the French exploration of Oklahoma. Our learning objective is to compare the goals and significance of early French interactions with American Indians, including trade and any new technologies. As you see here, this is a map that shows what the United States looked like at the time. And I say United States loosely. Obviously, it is not a country yet, but this is something that a lot of historians call just the fight for an empire. What you see is that you have Spain down here, you have France right here, and then you have Great Britain on the East Coast. You have all of these different nations fighting for this brand new piece of land that was discovered. Spain wanted to control it, France wanted to control it, and Great Britain wanted to control it. If we go ahead and zoom in to us, we can see that there is a little bit of French territory here in the Panhandle, Spain. So how is this going to work out? What is that going to look like? And let's get into it. So as you guys are going to see, the French are going to have a drastically different relationship with the Native Americans than the Spaniards had. If we focus in over here, and actually let me back it up. Let me introduce to you this guy, René Robert Cavalier, Sieur de la Salle. Yes, that is all one name. We're going to take a look at where he traveled, and he's going to travel from current-day Missouri through Kansas into the Panhandle of Oklahoma and Santa Fe. The goal of the French primarily was trade. And La Salle, and I know that I'm probably not saying his last name right just because I don't speak French, but he's actually going to canoe down the Mississippi River and claiming it and the western lands it drained for the King of France. And the King of France at that time was King Louis XIV, so he's going to call this Louisiana. La Salle saw this area as a huge trading empire. And once again, yes, the Spaniards and the French actually had similar goals. They both wanted to make money, but they wanted to make money through, once again, trade. They viewed Native Americans very differently. They viewed them as allies. They viewed them as skilled hunters. They viewed them as intelligent, whereas the Spaniards viewed them as basically no more than property, slaves, somebody or something just to conquer. So let's talk about two more different French explorers. We have Claude Charles Dutisnee and Jean-Baptiste Bernard Sieur de la Harp. And I know, once again, I'm saying those names not the right way because I don't speak French, but that is all one name. Well, let's talk about Dutisnee. His main goal here was to make sure that the French had a safe passage to trade with the Spanish in Santa Fe. Santa Fe is going to be this big commercial empire, right? So this is going to be where a lot of money is going to be and trade with the Spanish, and the French want to make sure they can get there. But who's in the way? Native Americans. Well, they wanted to make sure that the Osages were going to grant them safe passage, and the Osages were noted as having just war upon war and battle upon battle with other Native American tribes. So they wanted to make sure that they were able to get to Santa Fe safely. So let's take a look at La Harpe's goal here. Obviously, to explore Louisiana, they wanted to, keyword here, trade with the native peoples and establish a commercial link with the distant settlements of New Mexico. So when we take a look at this, they wanted to make sure that they are able to make money. How are they trying to make money? Well, through trade. So the key word between these two guys and even with La Salle is trade. Trading with who? Native Americans. And they wanted to make sure they can have this commercial link, and commercial just means business. Okay. So they want to make sure they have this link to get to Santa Fe or New Mexico to make sure they can trade and make money. One thing I wanted to point out too is that there is a few different native tribes I want to go over just quickly. So there's only actually two native tribes to Oklahoma, only two. And the two tribes that are native to Oklahoma are the Wichita and the Caddo. Every single other Native American tribe, Cherokee, Choctaw, Seminole, so forth, is all from somewhere else. And the Wichita is known as Oklahoma's first people. And their ally is going to be the Comanches. And the way that I think of this is comrade, Comanche, both start with a C. The Wichita's opponents are going to be the Osage. So think of O, opponent, C, comrade, Comanche. And so with this, many of these different French traders knew that the Wichita and the Osages and Comanches and Apaches and all these different tribes are warring against each other. So they want to make sure that they have a safe travel trip and safe passageway to make money to eventually go to New Mexico. So some of the goods that the French and the Native Americans traded, as you can see here, one of the big ones is going to be guns and ammo, things that were not readily accessible to Native Americans. They were wanting to trade with the French because they had goods that they wanted. They also had things like axes and blankets and beads, paint. And the French would then go ahead and trade to the Native Americans for things that they wanted. Buffalo and deer hides, beaver skins, horses that they got from the Spanish. Also, Indian captives. You might think, wait a minute, what? Native Americans enslaved other Native Americans. It was not based on race. No, it was based on your tribe. Once again, you have the Wichita versus the Osage, and they would commonly enslave one another. So you can see how this trading relationship would be beneficial for these two groups. So let's do a quick wrap up. So what was the interaction like between the Spanish and the Native Americans? Well, it was really bad. They enslaved their women, their men, their chiefs. They would burn villages. They would steal. They didn't view them as humans. They, once again, like I said, they enslaved them. And they were only looking for money. Money how? Well, gold, right? But what did they actually introduce to the Native Americans? They introduced guns and horses. Now, on the French side, they viewed the Native Americans as equals. They viewed them as partners. They viewed them as humans. The French also wanted to trade. That was a big difference. And they also introduced them to a bunch of different things like we looked at on the previous slide. Once again, guns. They introduced them to different cloths and materials like that. But the big similarity between these two is that France and Spain both wanted land. They both wanted to make money. Spain wanted to do it through conquering, whereas France wanted to do it through trade.